This is the Art of Network Engineering podcast. In this podcast, we'll explore tools, technologies, and talented people. We aim to bring you information that will expand your skill sets and toolbox and share the stories of fellow network engineers. Welcome to the Art of Network Engineering. I am AJ Murray at No Blinky Blinky. Andy, how you doing, man?
I feel weird. There's nobody here.
I know. It's just the two of us. Just the two of us.
You and it's like the olden days, man.
I know, right?
I don't know if we've ever had an Andy and AJ show.
We have.
What did we talk about?
I forget, but it was like in the 30s. Because it was like 30 episodes ago, because this is episode 60 of the Art of Network Engineering. I cannot believe it.
That's amazing.
60 episodes.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I am good. I will give my update. I wrote my first blog post in years a week or two ago.
I saw that.
And yeah, I got a tremendous amount of wonderful feedback from it, both on socials and like personal messages. People hitting me up just saying that, how much they got out of it and it really helped them, and, get some insight into what, other people are dealing with. And so it was really, I've been meaning to blog for a while, and I'm never really sure what to write about. And I have a bunch of like technical ones I started and didn't finish. And I asked, I think on the Discord, I'm like, what do you guys, how do you pick topics? And like, just, whatever you think, like, don't worry about what people want to read. Just what do you feel like talking about? And
yeah, it's your blog.
I've really wanted to put into words, what the podcast did for me, during, the height of COVID last year. So yeah, that's what I went for. And it was nice. I enjoyed it. It felt good to write again. I miss writing. I used to write a lot, and it's been a while.
I read that article, and first of all, it touched me because you kind of like spoke directly to me in parts of that. And the whole time that we're recording, like we talked, and you vented about stuff, and it was clear that like you were going through some things at various times, but I don't think at any point in time it came across as clear as it did in that blog article. And my wife read it, I read it, and we were both like, whoa, like he was really going through some stuff. And it was just so well written. I mean, maybe it's because you and I have the personal connection, but like I was reading it and I just didn't want to stop. Like, you're a good writer. Like that was
thank you, man.
Really good stuff. So if you haven't read it yet, get over to Andy's new website, permitIPAndyAndy.com, and check it out. Plus, how's the new website doing?
It's good. I've never had a website before. So I don't know. I'd have to ask Mr. No Blinky Blinky. Like, I mean, I have analytics that I don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
It came with an app, which is pretty sweet. I can tell you close to 400 people have read that blog post in the 2 weeks it's been up.
That's pretty good.
I don't know if that's good, but it's more people than I thought would read it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it feels nice. And the main reason I did it was because I have all these different places where there's stuff. You can go to my YouTube, you can go to my Instagram, you can go to my Twitter. I couldn't get Permit IP Andy on Twitter because there's too many characters. So I just wanted one front door of like, here's all my stuff. Go there, and you can find everything, including our Discord and the podcast and my blog and my resume, any photography I'm into. Like, just go check me out here. So it solved that problem, and I really like it. I'm glad that it's up. I'm using Squarespace, and they're not a sponsor or anything, but it was relatively easy. I'm not an HTML guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to do any of that. So yeah, blog post was good. I like having the website up. I went on a little vacation, which was nice. And I was recently selected as a Cisco champion for my second year in a row. So
Excellent.
That feels pretty good.
Welcome back.
To be honest with you, I would like to put more into it this year.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's, you get out what you put in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In light of that blog article, the year I was having, I just didn't have a bunch of cycles to jump in and get involved in that community. But I'd like to get a little more involved this year and see if, there's some stuff I can do to contribute and get a little more involved. So,
yeah, it's a great program. I was first accepted in 2019, and I was like you, welcome back this year. And I will say that there was a touch less going on last year because of COVID.
Right.
But during like a regular Cisco live event or anytime there's like a Cisco in-person event, they always make sure to include the Cisco champions. So if there's Cisco champions attending the event, they want to, highlight the champions that are there. We did get a lot more engagement with like the various Cisco business units. So what's really cool about the champions program is like we are the first line of people that the marketing team wants to engage with, right? So when there's a new product coming out, they want to hit us with it first to see how we react to it. And sometimes it's just hey, here's what we're thinking. What do you guys think? And sometimes it's okay, here's what we're going to announce. We're going to share it with you first, so that way you guys can create some content around it, and it launches the same day that we launch this new product. So it's a really cool program. I enjoy very much being a part of it. And I'm really glad you're in there, and now Tim is in there. Tim recently announced on Twitter and LinkedIn that he's now part of the Cisco Champions program, and tons of people in our community are also Cisco Champions now. So lots of great people have been added to it. I'm very excited for everybody that's a part of it, and I think we get some cool swag out of it. Somebody just made a good point in the chat here. Yes, I am a Cisco
the Patreon
champion.
Chat. Yeah, it's got a juniper jacket on, talking about Cisco Champions. But before
didn't think about that.
You look great, man. But before I ask you about you, I just want to circle back real quick to content creation, because anybody who's listening, so like, I'm never sure how much of myself to put out there, right? Mm-hmm. There's always a fine line. Someday I may be interviewing for a job, and I don't know how much of me I want people to know right behind the scenes. Like, sure. I just want you to know I'm good at what I do. I'm committed. I'm going to get the job done, and you can count on me. That's the professional me that I want people to know at work and otherwise. And, when you're creating content, be it on this podcast or a blog, we did that mental health episode, and that got pretty personal and pretty deep. And we talked about a lot of stuff, and that was scary. I remember it was very quiet that day in our chat when it was released, because I think we're all like, oh man,
how's this going to go?
Yeah, how's this going to be received? But here's my point. We got so much positive feedback from the mental health episode we did, and it helped so many people, and it started so many conversations that, like, mental health is one of those things you don't want to talk about, right? Don't talk about salary, don't talk about mental health. So that blog article that I wrote, I really was vulnerable and got personal because I thought it was important. And same feeling. It's like, man, I don't know how this is going to be received. Did I reveal too much? But again, the feedback, just like our mental health episode, I got so much positive feedback. My wife even read it and gave me all this. She was like, it was great. I'm like, you don't think it was too personal? Like, no, it was really the same kind of thing. Like, she really enjoyed it, but I was nervous. So I guess my point is, if you're putting yourself out there, if you're writing a blog or you got a YouTube channel or podcast or like whatever, it seems to me, the more you put yourself, the more authentic you are, the more vulnerable you are with your audience. It really seems to enable you to connect. Like, we're thousands of miles away from each other, right? Right now, recording this, we're going to put it out there, and somebody's going to listen on their phone or in their car. They're not with us, but there's this connection you can make with your audience. And it really seems to require some, honesty. And so anyway, I'm pleasantly surprised that the more I put more of me out there, not just this professional guy that I want the world to know about, the podcast, my own stuff, it really seems to land with folks out there. And that's it gives me more motivation to keep doing what I'm doing, as opposed to like, wow, dude, that was a little too much. We didn't need to know all that. Thanks for sharing, I guess. Like,
I've never seen anybody say anything to that effect.
But anyway, I really just appreciate the feedback we've been getting on the podcast and otherwise. How you doing? What's the AJ update?
Oh man. So all settled back into the kitchen. The kitchen's basically done. Just have to put up the backsplash, which hopefully will be done shortly. So that's good. We can put a cap on that. I'm very excited. I threw this in the winds this week. I started teaching again back at my alma mater, Champlain College. I'm super excited to be back as an adjunct professor. I'm doing a systems administration course focusing on Windows and Linux, and we're deploying VMs, we're doing some networking, we're doing some security, we're doing a little bit of everything. And I just have a ton of fun working with, future IT pros, and sharing my experience with them. And so it's just a ton of fun to be back on campus and working with the students again in the lab.
Why did you stop teaching? Was it COVID? Did they shut it down kind of thing? Like,
So was teaching when COVID hit and everything kind of shut down, and we had to transition, very quickly from an on-campus class to an online class, and now everything is hybrid. Like we teach, in campus or on campus, but everything that we do, all the assignments and everything, are in an online portal. So at any given point, we can pivot and go right to online.
right.
And so it's for me, the workload got to be such that I didn't feel like I could teach and work. And then last year with COVID, I just felt like, you know what, like maybe I should just take a step back here and focus on being home, kind of
Right.
thing.
Okay. Personal decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I basically took a year off. I took last fall semester off, and I took the spring of this year off, and now I'm back this fall. And
I wish I could take a class that you teach.
Oh boy, I don't know if you want to.
No, but you're a good teacher, and I'll keep saying it, that Ansible rundown that you showed us just blew me away. And when I found out you were a professor, I'm like, that makes sense. You're probably really good at it. So yeah. I'm happy that you're back. I'm sure your students are happy you're back.
Yeah, I wish I had the same students all the time, but I teach different classes. I have had like a couple of repeat students, which is fun, but and I keep in touch with quite a few of them that I've had come through my class, and professionally we've like had them, work at the same place, or I've referred them to other jobs or done background checks for clearances and stuff like that.
And I know you said this, but what are you teaching? Is it IT stuff?
Yeah, I teach all IT stuff. So right now it's Sys 265 is the class. Somebody in the Patreon chat asked if they have systems administration degrees, and we do. So I graduated at Champlain College. I have a degree in networking and information security. I also got my master's from there as well, managing innovation and information technology, which was a kind of fun degree. It was, you think of it as like a master's in business with a tech twist, so like an MBA with an IT twist. So if you come from an IT background, you learn the business side and how IT supports it. And if you come from an IT background, you learn like the business side, right? Or if you come from the business side, you learn about IT and how IT can, help grow the business and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have a ton of different degree programs, information security, networking, systems administration, cybersecurity is the big one right now. So yeah, it's a great college. So if you're looking for a college, free ad, I don't get a kickback for this. Definitely check out Champlain College here in Burlington. They have an online program and they have an on-campus program. They also have several campuses throughout the world. I know we have one in Montreal. There's one over in Ireland. And then of course here in Burlington, Vermont. So if you come to Burlington to check it out, let me know. And I might be.
Any other updates? Did you guys get hit with that crazy Ida?
We did not.
Hurricane thing?
We did not. No, we've avoided that. There's been no, we thought we might get it. And I think parts of Vermont got it, like southern Vermont, but not up here. It's been, I tell you what, man, like it has been super hot and humid, and it finally broke. It all finally broke. So it's been nice and cool, 70s in the day, 50s at night, much easier to sleep than ever.
It was pretty hot here, and it cooled off a bit.
Yeah.
And our pool has also cooled off. And
I bet.
4-year-old, my 4-year-old daughter, who I have yet to learn how to say no to because she's just so cute and has my heart. She's like, Daddy, I want to go in the pool today. It was 82 degrees, the water, which is
my gosh,
pretty brisk.
Yeah.
We went in. It was. I was in the pool today. It was chilly.
Oh man, did you guys get hit with the storm at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't bore you with the details, but it was intense. I spent like $500 at Home Depot doing some mitigation stuff, and I got sump pumps. We got a little bit of water in the basement, not too bad, but
yeah.
I was there. There was tornadoes that ripped through neighborhoods not far from here and destroyed entire neighborhoods. The city of Philadelphia, the like center city where all the high rises are. I think I saw it on the Discord today. People were posting pictures of like, a couple feet of water, like in the intersections, like data centers underwater and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty intense. I mean, I was out there fixing downspouts and stuff and tornado warnings because I'm nuts and I love storms. But a lot of rain.
Crazy.
I'm glad you guys got spared.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should jump on here with the show. We got a pretty good winning list here, so why don't we jump into the wins? Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
Winning this week is Jay. They passed their PCN-SA. That's the Palo Alto Certified Network Security Administrator. Jay Terestu. These damn Discord names are going to get me all the time. They scored their first job in tech, part-time maintaining and replacing network components for an ad agency. And this is really cool. They came from the oil industry in Texas, and now they're working in IT. So that's quite the jump. I feel like I remember talking to them on Twitter or in the Discord not too long ago. They finally decided, like, I got to get out of this. They had like sustained some injuries from working in that field. And so it's really cool to hear that they scored their first job. And I believe they also said that they were going to be taking the A+ soon. So good luck on that one.
Nice.
Our buddy Quiet Riot just finished 2 more college classes successfully. So 2 more notches in the belt and getting ever so much closer to that degree. So congratulations, Quiet Riot.
I enjoyed it more when you used to pronounce it Quatriot.
I know. But I screwed it up so bad, and I felt so bad.
I get it.
I don't like mispronouncing names. It's just what I do.
I know.
I'm not going to mispronounce this one, though. So congratulations to Adil Khan. They passed their second, number 2, on the VCP vSphere. So that's their dual VCPs now. So congratulations, Adil. I can see you in the chat. I know you're there. Congratulations.
Awesome, Adil. Good job.
Not working engineer passed the CCNA. Should probably change that to network engineer.
We're going to have to work on your username, little manifestation in the universe kind of thing.
Right. Nittany CLI. They announced that all their tuition is covered for this semester. That's huge. I don't care where you go. Free college is free college, and that's awesome.
Student loans suck.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I started teaching again this week, but we already talked that to death. And congratulations to all the returning and all the new Cisco champions out there in the community. I know there's orientation going on this week. So if you're a Cisco champion, you have to take a required orientation class. And that's sometime in the first couple of weeks after the announcement. And it just goes through, the do's and don'ts of Cisco champions. So it's a good time. Plus you get to meet a bunch of the other champions too. Congratulations and thank you and welcome to our new Patreons, Eric, Chu, and Brian, also known as The Traffic Network. So if you're in the Discord community, you'll probably have seen The Traffic Network hanging out there. And thank you to all of our Patreons. We certainly appreciate your support of the art of network engineering. And special thank you to Eric for sending us a copy of his book,
Yes,
Mastering Python for Networking.
It is right behind me in my pile of books here. I read the foreword, and I'm really excited. Eric did not have to do this, and I'm really excited to get into this book because I've been having some challenges learning Python, and this sounds like I'm the audience.
I can tell you, I read this book. It's a fantastic book. It comes with lots of great references to code to help you get started. We are absolutely going to have Eric on the show. We will be scheduling him soon. I promise you all that. I promise you that, Eric. We've been talking about it for a while, so really appreciate the book. It's even autographed. He put a nice little message in the front there. This is fantastic, and this will have a permanent home on the bookshelf behind me, so you will always be able to see it up there. Thanks.
You
again,
read
Eric.
that whole book already?
I have. Well, I had a copy of it before, digital, that I read, and so I wasn't going to turn down a physical copy to have in my life. So I certainly appreciate it.
I'm just making sure you weren't a speed reader. I'm like,
oh gosh, no.
How did you read that thing?
No way. All right. Andy, do you enjoy secure communications?
I'm up to some shady stuff. So absolutely. I need my communications to be very secure. I may or may not have thousands of movies on my Plex server, and I'm not sure if I paid for all of them, AJ.
Right. Well, with work, with businesses starting to open back up, I don't have to go to an office. I work from home, but sometimes I work from a coffee shop. And when I'm using my work laptop, I can use the work VPN. All my communications are secured. It's secured from prying eyes at the coffee shop and other public Wi-Fi places. But when I'm not using my work laptop, I'm using my personal devices. I didn't have a VPN until recently when I signed up for NordVPN services. And I really enjoy NordVPN. It's super easy to use. They have applications for all the different devices that I have. So, smartphone, tablet, my laptops and such. And they have some additional features other than the obvious, right? Like, they've got VPN. You can VPN into a number of different countries. So if you want to check out content in other countries, or, if there's something on Netflix that only plays in other countries, or if you're traveling abroad and you're trying to get back to the US and watch your favorite shows on Netflix here in the US, you can VPN right back into the US on Nord. They also have some really cool features, one called CyberSec that I'm a big fan of because it blocks ads and websites known to host malware. And they also have the dark web monitoring tool, which it looks at the dark web for credentials that are tied to the email address that you use to sign up for your NordVPN account. And it actually found something tied to my account. And I was able to go change the password and take care of that and clear that off the notification. So very cool stuff. If you're interested in NordVPN, you can go to nordvpn.com/TAONE for the art of network engineering. And you can sign up and get 73% off.
What?
73% off. And that is 2 years plus 4 months. And it's a pretty awesome discount. And you can also use the promo code TAONE at checkout. If you don't use our special link, we will drop that into our show notes. You can see right here, look at that. I'm protected. I'm using NordVPN now as I'm recording this show. And you can't tell the difference, right? Like I've never noticed any sort of degradation in my internet usage. I have it on all the time on my mobile devices, and I've never had any sort of problem using it. And I know that I'm protected all the time. So
I was about to say I have your public address and I'm going to attack it, but I can't because that's not your
that's
address.
Not me.
I
nice
want to offer one. I want to offer one use case. So most times when I use a VPN on my phone, and now I'm using Nord, it's when I'm on like a public Wi-Fi, right? Like you might be in a hospital or a coffee shop, and I'm trying to train my wife on this because people are out. You're in a hospital; they have no cell signal, right? And you're like, oh, and then you get a pop-up like, oh, look, guest Wi-Fi, yay. And I'm not a security expert, but I know people have told me that if you hop on any of those not secured, SSIDs, like the Wi-Fi networks, I'm pretty sure it doesn't take that much skill to be able to see everything I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
Get all my information. You have my credit cards. Like, so
we should ask Lily. From the last episode, I'm sure she could tell us how to do all that stuff.
I know. So bummed I missed her, but it's such a good episode. I listened today. But don't ever join. This is my security 101. I know nothing, right? But don't ever join an unsecured wireless network without a VPN because anyone can see everything you're doing, and that's not smart.
No, 100% agree.
So that's when I use VPNs typically.
Yep. So again, if you want to take advantage of that deal, you can go to nordvpn.com/TAONE. We will put a link to the show notes as well, so you can click on that there. And we thank NordVPN for their support of the Art of Network Engineering podcast.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So this week, we're talking about the return to the office.
Boo!
So you're a remote employee, as am I. I haven't worked in an office since 2018.
Yep.
I think literally that was this last time that I had to show up and report to an office on a regular basis was the end of 2018. And ever since I started my current role in very early 2019, I do have to occasionally go to the office for a meeting. I have to go on site to customer locations for meetings of various kinds. But with COVID, that changed everything. And so, for the most part, COVID's winding down. It's spiking here and there and in other places. What's been the story for you and where you work?
Yeah, I mean, I've been home for years. They made me remote. There was some kind of HR rule, like corporate real estate, where you had to be in an office 3 days a week for them to, the minimum of 3 days a week. This is years. So I started as a contractor, right? And I was in there all the time. But you have a badge that you swipe, and you had to be in an office 3 days a week minimum to have a seat basically there, to have a desk, right?
Gotcha.
And at one point, so what would happen for me is, because I worked so many maintenance windows, and this was back when I worked like 23 Sundays, like I was just working maintenance windows all the time. So like if I worked a maintenance window Sunday night, I had an agreement with my boss that I'm going to work from home Monday, right? Like I was up late on Sunday. Or if I'm, doing a 5 a.m. maintenance on a Tuesday morning, well, I work from home. So I was doing so many maintenances, I was going in less and less, and that was cool with my manager. And then one day I got an email from HR saying, hey, we're changing something in real estate, and we noticed that you're not there 3 days a week, and we're making you remote as of this date. And I was just like, sweet, because the only reason I go in is because my boss was telling me, I had to.
Sure.
And, I guess we'll go down this rabbit hole. I don't know if now's a good time, but personally, and I'm really going to try not to be the grumbly, guy here, right? Because that's not who I want to be. And I'm still a little bit Zandy from vacation, and that's good, Zandy. But you're good at this, so you can explain this to me. So what are the advantages of making knowledge workers come into an office? Because it's a thing, right? Like there are a lot of companies who are forcing their people back in, even with everything going on with variants and transmissions and blah, blah, blah. And so I want to throw a definition out there. You've probably heard the term knowledge workers, right? The first time I heard it, I think, was this guy, Cal Newport. He was talking about knowledge workers. I think I know what he's talking about, but we think for a living. That's what we're paid to do, right? We're not digging ditches. We're not, serving coffee. Like, we think for a living. And for me, I see no reason. I've always said this since I've been a knowledge worker. I could work from the surface of the moon as long as I have the internet. So why does it matter where I am? Because as a contractor, I commuted 3 hours a day, every day for years to go to an office that somebody said I had to be at. And the cynical me is like, well, they paid for the real estate. They want to get the return on that lease, and they're going to make us come in. I also thought that there was a certain level of management there that just wanted to come in and see their plebes in their cubes. Look at my domain. Look what I have built. So maybe there's a little bit of that, maybe a little like culture too. What I've been hearing recently is, now they're using collaboration. Well, we need everybody to come in to collaborate, right? And all that means is people working together.
Right.
And again, knowledge worker, I can work from anywhere. I don't need to be in a physical proximity to you to be able to collaborate. Look at everything that our team has collaborated with the past 14, 15 months, just on the show. Look at all the collaboration on the Discord. Look at everything we collaborate on, at work. And COVID showed us it doesn't matter where we are. So I personally am not a fan of return to office. All the studies show that productivity went up for workers. Work-life balance improved. You're, instead of spending hours commuting, you can now spend that exercising or meditating or feeding your kids or talking to your wife or having a cup of coffee with your wife or husband so I think that the world got the taste, at least for knowledge workers, got a taste of, of working from home and all the benefits that brings to your life. And now people are getting forced back in. And it just rubs me the wrong way because all the data showed, and even the company, like, it's all about money, right? Look at all the money they save. I remember reading something, I don't know if it's like $1,000 a year just to put a butt in a seat for electricity and HVAC and plumbing and, phone. So the company saves money, the productivity goes up, and your people are happier. And yet, more often than not, all these brilliant people running these companies are like, we're going back in.
Right.
So you
Right.
triggered me, bro. You triggered me. I don't get it. I really don't get it, especially, and I'll shut up, especially in light of the physical, what's the right word? The added risk,
Yes.
I guess, is
Yes.
how I would put it, of putting us in close proximity to each other. Again, this isn't a political show. We're not doctors, but
Sure.
I believe in science, and I don't think I need to be inside a building with people so I can collaborate with them. Because I don't know about you, but the network engineering I've been doing for the past 8 or 9 years, we're not creating routing protocols or creating IEEE stuff, or like, I'm on a project, I have a thing to do, give me the gear, I'll configure it. Like, I don't know what this collaboration is for technical network engineer people, right? Like, what is it we're collaborating? Oh, we can whiteboard.
Right.
Like, I've probably whiteboarded twice in my life. Like, maybe architects and design people, they need that stuff, and maybe being in a room, I mean, if I could be in a room with you and the rest of the, Art of Network Engineering team, yeah, it'd be great. I'd love to hang with you guys if we all live near each other. Like, sure. But you guys are my bros. Like, my coworkers aren't necessarily my bros. This is a job. This is how I pay my mortgage.
Right.
Like, I don't know. And they're great people. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know why we all got to be in the same room. So look what you did there. You got me going. I didn't mean to do that. And I said, well,
it's time to wrap this. No, I'm just kidding.
There's only 2 of us. We got to fill time here, man. You know what I mean?
Andy, I think you hit on like a lot of solid points here, and I'm going to try to remember them in the particular order you dropped them. So, people returning to work, the brick and mortar aspect of it. You're right. There's a lot of investment in, a place to work, and by not putting people there, that money can be seen as like kind of going to waste, and maybe it's leased, maybe they're locked in, maybe they can't sell it. I don't know what the case is, but I think to a degree they want to see their investment get used again, and they want people back in the office. I do agree with what you're saying on, the manager, the owner coming in and looking over the cubicle farm at the plebes, and that's definitely a culture thing. Like, I literally have worked for a person that said no work gets done unless it's between these 4 walls, and then they were referencing the office that we were standing in, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. It was in like 2018, and that was like my old boss that I had to leave. Like, that was just such a terrible way to look at things. Like, most of the work for that company could have been done remotely. The only work that couldn't have been done remotely was for the folks that were working in our machine shop. It could have been done remotely if they invested in newer machines that we could load CAD drawings into. And the only thing a person would have to do is walk in there, load the machine with raw material, and then let it go. Having somebody walk around and monitor to make sure machines aren't, getting stuck on builds or whatever. But that's not the way they operated. They ran these machines that were old as heck, and you can do that kind of stuff with it. So they had to like manually translate CAD drawings into, the math that the machine needed to cut the part. So you're right. It is crazy to me. I have seen and heard of instances where some offices are incentivizing people to come back. So for so long, managers told people like, that's not a job you can do remotely. Well, it turns out it was, right? Like, we found out with COVID, it turns out that you actually could do that job remotely. And
companies did really well with the remote workforce.
Yeah. Yeah. They sent everybody home. They set everybody up with laptops, docking stations, monitors. I mean, I don't think all companies did that, but I'm sure a lot of companies did. And so now to draw people back in, you're going to have to incentivize them, or you're going to have to make them come back or fire them, kind of thing. And unfortunately, I think that's what we're seeing happening. There's just been a mass exodus of employees that, hey, I'm working from home now. I have this better work-life balance. I'm not going to go back into the office. And if you're going to make me go back into the office, well, I'm going to go find another job. Yep. I think I've seen a lot of that too. The other thing that I've heard is that the work-life balance wasn't all it was cracked up to be, because when you're working from home, there's that blend of like working and living, and when are you working and when are you not, there is a work-life balance, but it can very quickly become out of balance, where like all you're doing is working because you're at home and you work from home. And so when do you draw the line when you're not working versus when you are? And I think that some people struggled with that, and now they might prefer to be back in the office. I personally am perfectly fine working from home.
Yeah, if you can't, trying to be nice. So, if you can't draw boundaries around what is work and what is not just
Yeah,
because you're working from home,
right. You're
call
like, well,
me.
I'm bored. I need to
Well,
work.
I mean, right. So there's people who like to go into an office to avoid their family, right? Like, oh, I leave, my wife has to deal with the kids. Or
Yeah,
my wife's not particularly nice, or maybe I'm not nice to her, so she's not nice back. But I know people who have been avoiding their family their entire careers because that's, what it's easier for them. I disappear, I
right.
don't have to deal with the kids, I come home, there's dinner for me. So like there's those folks. But
Yeah.
what I'll tell you, so when I first got sent home pre-COVID and all that as a remote employee, there was an adjustment,
Hmm.
right? I remember like, it was just weird. There was something about being in an office with people watching me. I felt that like, oh, I need to at least appear to be working, right? Like I at
Hmm.
least need to be on my computer working on something. Um, but at home, right? It's like, okay, nobody's watching. But what turned the corner for me was that I was so busy and had such a heavy workload. I don't know if it took a week or two for me to be like, oh hell, I need to get cracking here. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like I got deadlines coming up, but there's endless data out there. You just Google it, like how to work from home effectively. Like
Right.
you have a separate room. Again, like I'm saying it half jokingly, but like call me like, well, I need to go into the office because I'm working all the time when I'm at home.
Hmm.
Well, stop at 5.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Turn off your work phone, stop at 5, and go be with your family. It's not hard.
Sure. Sure.
But there is that draw. I get it. Of like, but I'm
Yeah.
so busy, and if I just catch up on email now, I won't have to do it tomorrow. And but it's boundaries, it's discipline,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it can be done. For me, I gain so much time in my life to do what I want. Like I exercise every day at lunch
Hmm.
because lunch is my time. I'm at home. I used to walk around a parking lot. How sad is that, right? Like I used to just walk for an hour to get some exercise. Well, now I get on my bike, I go to a beautiful park with a lake, and I get an hour of cardio in. That makes me a better employee. I'm more
Hmm.
healthy. I'm going to cost less on your health insurance as I get older. Like I can't do that in an office,
Right.
right? Like what am I going to do? But yeah, I love. Do you like working from home? Do you like being remote?
I do. I do very much. There was definitely, like you said, an adjustment period when I first started
Yeah,
working from home because it was weird.
sure.
Because like in an office, you're always working around other people. There's like that social aspect, and then when I started working from home, it was like all chats, and it was kind of strange. Like I almost felt like I was on an island, and all the other engineers were busy, and I was like, hey, what can I do? And it was just at this weird point because I started a few weeks before company all hands, and so everybody was working to get stuff done so we could all go attend the company all hands. So it just didn't make sense at that point to like pull me into something because we were trying to wrap it up.
Right.
So it was just like this strange period. Um, I got some really good advice, and I actually did a lot of research on like working from home, and I read stuff like, you start your day with a commute, and the commute is this regular thing that you do that you're prepping yourself like, hey, I'm going into work, and when I get to where I'm going, it's time to work. And so even though I was working from home, they still want you to have this commute style like routine, like go for a walk the dog, go for a drive, get a cup of coffee, and come back. And now like that's your commute into work per se, even though you work from home. But that's that signal to your body like you're about to start work now.
Right. Like they'll tell you, like, get dressed, right? Don't
Yeah.
work in your pajamas. I mean,
Yeah.
simple stuff,
Yeah.
get up, take a shower, put on some clothes, go to a separate room.
Sure.
The, there's easy things to do. And,
Yeah.
and again, for me, where the rubber meets the road, I really, really value my time, right? Like time is the greatest asset we
Yeah.
have. You
Yeah.
can't create it. We're all
Yeah.
going to be dead soon. Hypothetically, like philosophically, right? Like you better make use of your damn time. And when I looked at 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours of my life
Wow.
every
That's a lot.
week sitting in my car and on
3
trains.
hours a
But
day.
even I feel like an
Yeah.
hour when you talk to people, it's like 45 minutes to an hour to get to where they're going.
Yeah.
On average. So, okay, that's 2 hours a day. It's 10 hours a week. I mean, unless you don't like the people you live with, why in God's green earth would you choose to, I got a great car and a great sound system, bro? Like,
not a reason
10
to
hours
want
a
to
week,
commute.
every week, sitting in your car, like, come on, like, sit in your car in your driveway and be home. Like, I don't know. So I honestly think, and maybe I'm a cynic, I think it's economics. I think that the companies that are pushing their people back in have signed leases and built. I can tell you, and I won't throw them under the bus, but one of my previous employers spent billions of dollars subsidized by the city of Philadelphia to build their 2 twin tower corporate centers in the city. And then COVID hit. I know people that work down at those ivory towers that are being forced in against their will. They're nervous. They're afraid. They don't, beyond all the work-life balance stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now they have to go into a situation they don't feel is particularly safe based on science.
Mm-hmm.
The smartest people on the planet saying stuff.
Yep.
And they're being forced to go in because this company spent billions of dollars, including subsidized tax dollars, to build this, ooh la la, look at us, look where we live, and it's not a bad thing, right? They built a technology hub in Philly. It was going to help the city, create jobs. Like, I get it. It's good. But they're forcing people back in because they spent all this money and they got to get the return on it.
Right.
That's a shitty reason to put their health at risk. Right. In my opinion, you could argue that, we're not going to go down to crazy town, but putting a bunch of people in a room together, right now doesn't seem like a safe thing to do. And yet, so that's what really gets me. To me, it's like money over other stuff. Right. But beyond that, to me, what always comes up when I have these conversations is just the word trust, right? Like, if you trust your people to do their job and they do their job, no matter where they are, like you and I, what do you care? Leave them alone. They'll do what you're paying them to do. They'll do it well. You'll be happy with them. And why do you care, where they are? But if you're in a culture where you don't trust your people, or maybe these VPs in their ivory towers, right? Maybe they were raised and they were watched their whole careers, and it's just how they were brought up. And
it's
then they
old school way of thinking.
Yeah. And then they finally climbed up the ladder. Well, now I get to watch people. Like, really? It means you don't trust your people.
Yeah.
I feel that they're hiding behind words like collaboration.
Yeah.
And I defy these people to explain to me what network engineers need to collaborate on, unless it's a room full of architects that are planning out the next 5 to 10 years of technology stacks that this company is going to jump on. Like, how are we going to get in the cloud? How are we going to, whatever the new ooh la la stuff is. Yeah. Sure, maybe being in a room would be helpful. I don't see how being on a Zoom call would be any less helpful. But, people in the trenches like you and I building stuff, I don't see collaboration. I'm not buying it. I think it's a term they just heard at a meeting and somebody said, let's tell everybody collaboration to get them in. Like, you know what I mean? We can work together just fine without it. I really feel like it's economics because of real estate, and they just don't trust their people. They feel like they have to watch them.
Right.
When
I think back before I started working remotely, there was this like BS factor, right? Like, you go into an office and you hang out with the people that you work with and you shoot the shit and you talk about like what you did that weekend, what you cooked on the grill the night before. And you would spend like a decent amount of time doing that. And maybe a couple times a day with various coworkers. Like, how much of your day was this rag chewing versus like actually working?
Social.
Yeah.
I get in there as a contractor, my gig I have now. And there was these two guys, as I was walking in at 8 a.m, they'd be walking out and they would spend an hour walking to go get coffee, getting their coffee, coming back with their coffee. So from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning was just burnt because they had to go get coffee. We had free coffee in the office, but they had to go, get coffee. And then you had the guys who smoked, right? They were outside every 20 minutes because they got to get nicotine or they're going to keel over. So they're, and then you have the cubicles that there's always two people just Pop, 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 because
Yeah.
that's what they do. Like they're
Yeah.
best friends and they want to talk. And as an engineer sitting around a bunch of non-engineers, I used to just think there's nothing getting done here. Like, you know what I mean? People are just, this is a social engagement. Like,
Yeah.
maybe an hour a day was like this focused, intense work being done. And the rest just seemed to be this big social thing.
Yeah.
Did you see that game? Can you believe this? How's your husband? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I got Christmas cookies. You want to go get coffee? Like,
Like,
I didn't see this.
a degree of BSing is nice, and depending
It's
on like
great.
some of the coworkers, like it's cool to grow some relationships and whatnot. But I think a
Sure.
lot of it was like very pandering too. Like oh, the weather, like, and it's like how many times can you talk about the weather with somebody, right? Like it was just BS conversations to seem nice, to be cordial with coworkers, and I'm sure a fraction of those were like actual friendships that you could like count on those people, right?
I'm such a cynic. As you're talking, I'm thinking, you know what? There's probably been studies done
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
when people are in the office and they
yeah.
develop friendships, there's a stickiness to that. They're less likely to leave this job to start interviewing externally
Oh
because they're
sure,
going to hang out with their friends every
right,
day.
right.
I mean, that's how cynical and insidious I think these kind of decisions are being made. Like, well, we got to have them in the office so they can become friends so they'll never leave because it's hard to get talent, like that's the crazy voice in my head. Like, but
You know what? I think that there's something to be said to that because I stayed at a job a year longer than I wanted to because I worked with some friends and I was like the manager and I felt guilty leaving them and because of the relationships that we had formed. So I absolutely feel like there's something to be said in that.
and it's tougher to build those relationships remotely on the
Sure.
internet with
Yeah.
cameras. I mean,
Unless they're like already established, I think it's harder to grow. Although I will
right.
say that your and my relationship is purely internet based, right? Like I only know you through the lens. I have never met you in person, but I enjoy your company. I look forward to hanging out with you, and I really look forward to the day that I get to meet you.
I hope I don't disappoint you. There's a lot of pressure here.
I'm
You
sure
and
you
Dan
won't.
were just such best instant friends, and I think you're going to get to see Tim relatively soon. I hope I can. I hope I can deliver on all this hype.
I'm sure you can. I'm not worried about it. A deal in the chat said that they were he worked on a project where he works, and they literally moved 2 data centers while working remotely. And so, he agrees that collaboration, as we've said, is a poor excuse to push people back into the office. And I don't disagree with that. With a lot of the collaborative tools that are around, if you really do need to collaborate, and in my position, I collaborate quite a bit with my customers because I have to learn about their environment. I have to learn about how they want to use a particular solution. So we do whiteboarding sessions. We do get on, we don't always do video chat, thank God. Some of the customers do want to do video chat, and when I jump in the call, I've always like had my video off, and then when I see that they have their video on, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll turn my video on, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that there is a degree of collaboration depending on the position. You're right when it comes time to configure stuff, like unless I'm training another engineer, I don't need to collaborate while I'm building configurations that I'm going to sling
Right,
onto some
which is a
devices.
good point that I saw in the Patreon chat here. I don't know if it was a deal. I can't find them, but they said counterpoint would be, yeah, it was Eric. Eric, he's gonna have to tell me if it's Chow or Chew. I'm sorry, Eric. He's saying one counterpoint: mentoring a junior engineer is easier, and that's definitely true. We hired a junior guy when I was going into the office, and I spent hours with him every day. He sat next to me, and I pulled him into every single thing I did. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Come sit with me and watch because that's how I learned, and it was really helpful. And that's it's pretty hard remote. Like, I mean, I could put a computer on me and show you my terminal screen, but having a guy sitting in my cube with the gear that I'm working on that I'm going to ship, I feel was pretty helpful because then you do have those organic conversations, and then you go down the lunch and he can ask you questions like, hey, I saw you did this and that in AAA. Like, why did you do that? And so, I mean, I get that there's advantages to being together, and in a world where breathing on each other can't make us violently ill, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
But the rush to go back, just feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fortunate that I don't have to. Right, I'm remote. They said they're not gonna mess with me, and that's nice. But yeah, I feel like it's a hot topic, right? Like return to office. So how would you feel? I feel like the cranky guy here and you're just not. So how would you feel if they forced you, like, AJ, you got to come into the office 5 days a week from now on? How would that settle with you?
In my current role, based on where the office is, I would quit because the office is 2 hours away, and
Okay.
I refuse to drive 2 hours one way
Right.
to just show up and do my job that I've been doing here for the last 2.5 3 years.
So as I'm putting my manager shoes on, which I've never been a manager, but could they negotiate and be like, well, how about 3 days? We'll do a hybrid model, so we can
Yeah, no,
collaborate 3 days a week. I mean, right.
I think the most I've ever gone to the closest office is maybe quarterly, and
Yeah.
and that was just enough, like
Right.
like the office is beautiful. I do enjoy going there. It's in like an old mill, and they did a really great job with it. If I lived closer, it would be
Yeah.
appetizing to work there, but yeah, to take my position that I've been doing for almost the last 3 years and require me to go into an office that's 2 hours away, like, no, not
And
happening.
I felt the same. I felt the same thing. If I could drive 15 minutes and be somewhere,
Sure.
I'd probably be fine with it. It's not like I never want to go to an office and be around people again, but where I live, I'm an hour from the city on a good day without accidents and traffic and rain and all that stuff. So the thought of me investing 2 hours of my life every day to get
Hmm.
somewhere, knowing I can do my job just as well, if not better here, because there isn't all the distractions and talking. Like when I was in the office, I used to have to wear headphones with
Oh
some,
yeah.
music just to drown out. I'm trying to work on configs here, and there's giggling and laughing, and there's noise everywhere. I'm like,
Yep.
I'm a knowledge worker. Like, would you people be quiet? So it's perfectly quiet where I work here, and but I'd be fine going if it was close to me. I just think it comes down to time, and how
Yeah.
much time are you willing to give up, time you'll never get back of your life,
Oh my gosh.
for a
Yeah.
job. And
Yeah.
it seems like there's a hell of a lot of remote jobs out there. I mean, we're all on LinkedIn, right? We're always getting hit up by recruiters, and it seems like there's a lot of remote stuff out there. I think I'd be in the same boat as you if they told me I had to start commuting and it was a long commute for no reason at all.
Yeah.
That'd be it. I mean, all right,
Yeah.
I'm looking, man. Like I'm looking hard because,
Peace.
yeah, I value my time,
Yeah.
and
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't care how nice and fancy my car is. Like I don't want to spend all that time. I know people who love driving it, and that's cool for them, right? But I don't get it, man. I'm
Yeah.
and
I
and
love
what's
driving, but
funny,
I wouldn't want to do it on a daily basis. Not like that. I mean,
right?
the last time I worked in an office, it was like a 25-minute drive into the office, and that was too much. It was too much running
Yeah,
around. And like I always had to like go rush and get the children from daycare, and it was always like, oh, if I take this way, I'm going to get stuck in traffic, and if I take this way, it might take too long, and if I leave 5 minutes late, I'm really going to get screwed because of traffic. And now like my son's daycare is like literally 5 minutes down the road, if that. Like it's a very short drive from the house. And now that he's in public school, like I can have him like hop on the bus and have the bus drop him off right here. Like I don't even have to leave the house.
Manny's got a good question
Yeah,
here.
I
I was
saw
just
that,
reading.
and I see we're starting to get a couple of questions here. So let's bump up to Manny's question. He asked us if we've heard anything to the effect of, people feeling like an in-office employee has an advantage over, say, a remote employee when it comes to promotions and stuff. And I would say that could easily be a thing. But I would say that that's just poor management, right? Like if you give somebody a promotion or consider them for a promotion just because you see them every day, I would be looking at raw output. That I've had people that I've worked with that I saw every day, and based on like a number of metrics that we had, like their output was nowhere near what the output was of some other people on the team that I didn't see every day. And you know, some of the metrics were pretty like cut and dry, like not open to interpretation.
You just reminded me of something. I mean, there was a guy we hired that you had to babysit,
Oh
and
yeah,
to me, you send this dude home, he's never going to do another damn thing. And that's a problem with your hiring process. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that you need to torture the responsible adults who will do their job no matter where they are because, you hired some sandbagger. But
Yeah.
um and a deal, so if that happens, it's probably a toxic culture. Like if you have
Mm-hmm.
to be in there kissing the
Mm-hmm.
ring of whoever, you know kissing butt cheeks, so to speak, that might not be the best place, to be. I
Yeah.
think your work should speak for itself, right?
Absolutely.
You're good at what you do. And another point I wanted to make is, I started working when I was in 7th grade, and I've been working ever since, and it's been decades. And every job I've ever had until becoming a network engineer, I had to drive somewhere, I had to be in person, and I had to do a thing. And I don't know if this sounds strange to say, but I feel like I have earned the right as an adult with a specialized skill set that can do a job from anywhere that has the internet connection. I am dependable. You can rely on me, and I don't need to be driving to a place interacting with a person to do a
Mm-hmm.
job anymore. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I busted my butt as long as I did and got my CCNA and got that. All the
Yep.
decisions I've made is to get to a point of responsibility in adulthood where, like, I don't need to do all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I
And
think
I'm
it's a good
also
point.
thinking, I don't know if there's a generational thing, but I can tell you that Automacho has been chomping at the bit to get into an office.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And he's a younger cat, right?
So do you
So
think it's like just like an experience thing? Like he's a relatively new engineer, so maybe he just hasn't had the experience of working in a corporate office and just wants a taste of corporate America, or
I feel
or
I feel funny speaking for him, but he's not
sure,
here, right?
sure, yeah, yeah.
So,
No, so
but I would say
hypothetically,
that's, I mean, that it's, I would guess it's part of it, right?
yeah.
Another part of it could be, maybe he's, living in a place that isn't huge, doesn't have a dedicated workspace, and he's like sitting in a bedroom. I happen to live in a size, a house that's big enough that, like, I have a dedicated area, nobody
Hmm.
bothers me, and I'm good. If I was stuck, yeah, in a living room table being bothered all the time, I'd probably
That's how
have to
my
get the hell
pandemic
out of here
started out.
too.
I was at
So
the
yeah,
kitchen, the kitchen table, because my
right.
office used to be downstairs. And when my son was home, my youngest son, I couldn't leave him like not within eye shot or whatever. So I had to work at the kitchen table. And because of the pandemic, my office is now, where it is, which is upstairs. I finally upgraded to a window. I was promoted to a window office in my
Hmm.
own house.
Congratulations. Er- Eric in the Patreon chat has another good question. He says, question for AJ. Do you think college learning is easier in person?
You know what? I'm going to say yes. Absolutely, it
I'd
is.
agree. Yep.
I was a horrible online student because sometimes I would forget to show up to the online portal and participate in the interactive chats. Well, they weren't even so much It was just like a posting board, right? Like it's not like you were live chatting with other people, like we are now with the Patreons. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an element of like because I don't have to show up somewhere. Sometimes I would forget to show up digitally, and that's not super helpful as a teacher. The other thing is when I'm teaching on campus, I have a set time block every Monday night from 5:30 until 8:15 that I show up with a group of students and we work together through a series of labs to teach them how to do something. If they have questions, they can ask me. They can ask somebody else in the classroom, partner or whatever, and that kind of collaboration, can take place real time. I think in a learning environment, collaboration is very key. When we did the remote thing, it was much harder to get all of the students online at a single time. So we could do that piece, and when questions came up, it was very like one off. Like, oh, I have a question about this. Like, okay, let's schedule a meeting. Let's jump on a Google Meet and let's go ahead and figure out what's going on. And so what could have been done in the course of a single class period took place throughout the entire course of a week, and it was a little bit harder to keep track of. So I
Yeah.
personally find it a lot easier to do the in-person, teacher thing.
And I prefer to learn in person. I much prefer. I don't want it to sound like an excuse, and it probably is. And Tanaya would probably smack me in the face for saying this, but rightfully so, because she just gets stuff done, right? But when I was in Cisco's Netacad, going to, every Friday was a 4-hour class, every Saturday was a 4-hour class. I learned a lot and I was in it, and like I had a lot of help, and self-studying for me has been a hell of a lot harder. I don't know if I'd have my CCMP by now, or a lot, you know, long time ago, if I was going to a classroom and being held accountable and working
Yeah.
in a group.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder for me learning, self-learning. I
Yeah.
definitely, prefer a classroom.
Yeah, I think when you're doing the mentorship thing, when you're training a new coworker, whether they're seasoned or not, junior or not, like there's a degree of like here's the rules of the house kind of thing that you have to train a new employee, and that's probably easier to do in person, and it probably feels better to a new hire too when that stuff is done in person because you're always interacting with them. Whereas like when somebody starts remotely, they're like, okay, it's my first day, and they're just kind of waiting for the Zoom to start so they can meet with the HR people to go through this stuff, and then that meeting's over, and then they're like, okay, now what do I do? Like go feed the cat or like go for a walk or waiting
and
for the
and
next Zoom to start.
and I probably should have started with this. I don't want it to sound, if you want to go into the office and you love going to the office and you need to be around people, I apologize for framing this whole conversation as like this is bullcrap, because that's just how I feel, right? But
Sure.
if people want to go in an office, rock on, have at it. I mean, it's your life, right? Like whatever's going to make you happy. I probably should have started that ahead of time, because I've just been beating up on it the whole time. And it's only because it bothers me, like everything we talked about. I see the
Sure.
landscape, I see what's going on, and I wouldn't feel all that great about it. Even
Well,
if it
it's
was only a 15-minute drive for me. Why the hell do I have to sit in a room with these people that
right.
may or may not be vaccinated, may or may not be smart, may or may not be doing things that leading scientists on the planet say to? Like, it's a lot of trust for virtual strangers, like going
Yeah.
in and just hoping that they're doing the thing, knowing that I could bring something home and get somebody critically ill. Like, just the stakes are so damn high
Yeah.
at this particular point in history. That's what feels so strange to me, which I think is why I get fired up about it, is
Yeah.
because the health of me and my family right now are more important than anything else I can think
Sure.
of. And
It,
for an employer to force your hand
yeah.
because they have a lease rubs me the wrong way. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from. You want to go in the office, have at it, knock yourself out. But I
Yeah.
don't like the forced hand, right?
It's one thing to make it optional, and I'm very thankful, one, that I don't have a job that requires me to go to the office, and two, the company that I work for, it's completely optional. If you want to go into the office, you can go into the office. The offices are open. If you happen to go into the office, right now the company is offering breakfast and lunch. You can go in and get free breakfast and free lunch. It's just a thing that's available to people that are working in the office.
Is that new?
It
Is
is.
that
It
new?
is new. Well, it is and it isn't. Because as long as I've known the company and as long as I've worked there, there was always some food snack. The M&Ms are very much a thing at this company, and so like you can walk around the office and there's these huge buckets of M&Ms all over the place. You will never not be able to snack on stuff like,
Oh my God.
uh,
Do
and
they have
then
peanut M&Ms?
oh yeah, they got them all.
Oh, that would be trouble.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And then like there's sports drinks in the fridges in the kitchens. Like there's always stuff, right? That's always been a thing. But I guess now like they're actually offering a meal at breakfast and lunch. I have not
And you
gone
mentioned it
into.
earlier, they're like incentivizing people to come in. I mean, if that doesn't speak to the conversation we're having, like if you have to bribe your folks to come
I
into
think
the office, there might be some, I don't want to say something wrong, but there, that may illuminate something underlying about this whole conversation. Why do you have to
sure.
bribe your people to
I
come
think that's
into
what
the
it's going to come
office?
down to. Like, short of requiring people to come into the office, I think you're going to have to give them a reason to come in. And
Yeah.
you're like, what the last 18 months has shown us is that most people's jobs can in fact be done from home. And to now, say it's okay, it's time to go back to the office. It's like, well, I mean, give me a reason. Like, I've done my job here from home for the last, I don't know how many months. Like, why do I have to come in?
So this
And
is the
it's
last
like,
real talk thing I'll throw out there, because I know we're probably getting close to the hour if we're not over already. But do you think that remote work is threatening to middle management whose whole existence is predicated on keeping an eye on their people and making sure they're doing their job. And I'm asking you specifically because you've been in management. I have not.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying
Yeah.
to beat up, and I'm not saying that managers are all micromanaging people who don't trust their people.
Sure.
But you and I are employees, and we get, we're going to do our job. We're adults. It's fine.
Yep.
But I can see if you're in management, and I guess it depends on the culture too, but I can see the whole remote thing being a little more threatening. Like, do the higher ups eventually realize, well, do we need all these managers at the middle level? Like, everything's working fine. I don't know. I don't know anything about management. I just wonder if there's any feeling of like, the security of their job being threatened because, like, do you really need? Has working remotely caused management to become, more valued or less valued? Like, has there been any like, oh, everything's working pretty good and you're not staring at people and looking over their shoulder? Like,
well, I think you definitely still need management because employees need a point of contact, somebody to go to. I think that remote work is probably threatening to bad managers because bad managers or people that don't know how to manage can't manage people they can't see, or at least they don't feel like they can. It's also, I think, whether or not they have good employees, right? Like if they have bad employees, people that don't have good integrity, that don't work just because they're not being looked upon. Right. I think there's like two sides to that piece, yep. Right?
Yeah. I keep going back to like, you might have a hiring problem. If you have people that you can't trust enough to let them work remotely, and you're going to force them in an possible unhealthy situation.
Yep.
If you don't trust your people, you might want to look at your hiring process.
You're screening.
Any more questions? Yeah. Any more questions in the Patreon here? How we doing on time? I know you got a clock running there somewhere.
We're a little bit over the hour. I don't think there wasn't anything that I felt like we had to chop out of this one. So I think we're going to be just fine.
Adil's talking about quiet bunnies. I don't know what you're talking about, Adil.
Yeah, Eric said at the end of the day, remote work just kind of amplifies everything. Yeah, and I think he's right. I think he's right for sure. I think if as a manager you have some good metrics that you can use to gauge whether or not your employees are being effective, I don't think there's any reason why you can't manage them. And for me in my role, like, everybody has customers, and if I hear from a project manager that my engineers aren't meeting their deadlines, then that's concerning to me. I see their time cards. A big thing that goes on with the time cards is your utilization. Are you putting your time to where you should be putting it to? And that's very easy for me to see as a manager. Like, is somebody working on the projects that are assigned to them, or are they putting their time in other buckets that, like, they probably don't need to be putting it in right now? Like, right now there's so much going on. Nobody should be putting time in a training bucket. And it's I hate to say that because I would love to be doing some training, but we just have so much work going on at this particular time. It's if you're putting it in a training bucket, like, are you really training right now? Like, really? Really? So, being able to use some key metrics to get the feedback that, hey, my people are working, or, hey, wait a minute, they missed this big deliverable that really should have been done last week. And those are some really good KPIs to tell me whether or not my people are doing their jobs.
You're talking about it, right? The KPIs, the productivity. Like, if your business was kicking butt and taking names before the remote workforce kicked in, and then when the remote workforce happened, productivity went in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, a social scientist, but everything I've read in the past year and a half, I thought indicated that productivity went up.
Right.
When everybody was home with kids and craziness. So if I were running a company, I would think, as long as my productivity is intact, I don't care where they're at.
Right.
And if you come back to me and the data says productivity went up, well, we better bring them in the office because I want productivity to go back down. I mean, is that right?
We're doing too good.
The logic train we're following here. It's a flow chart. Like, okay, yeah, guys, you're too productive. We need to get you back. So, but I'll be real curious when this episode gets released. I'd really like to hear from listeners because I know that there's a lot of different opinions on this. And
Yeah.
I would like to hear from people who want and need to be in the office and why, because I want to know that side of the table. I want,
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear from them and like, let me know. We should have probably had somebody on here who's like vehemently for going back in so that we could have,
Well, we don't know who they are, so if they let us know on Twitter
well,
at Art of
yeah.
NetEng,
Well,
maybe
right,
we can get
right.
them
So
back on here.
I'd really like to hear from listeners on their take on it.
Yeah.
If you're with me and you're like, grr, I'm not going back in, don't sweat it. But if you disagree with me, I'd really love to hear from those folks
Yeah.
to get a balanced view of this conversation.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. It would be great to hear
I
from
could just give my opinion and that's what I got. I'm not going anywhere, AJ. Got a comfy seat right here, bro.
Right. Well, don't get too comfy because next time we record, I'm going to require everyone to show up on site, and we're going to do this in a studio because that's the only way I can trust we're going to get an episode recorded on time. Gosh dang it.
There better be maple syrup.
If that's what I have to do to convince you to get into a studio with me, then I'll bring it.
Is there maple syrup flavored ice cream?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, we don't have that here.
Oh.
I might come into a studio for that.
Okay. All right. No,
I have an ice cream problem. I think maple syrup ice cream will get me in.
We can definitely hook that up. We got maple everything up in here. You
know.
can ask Dan because the morning that he left, there's a donut shop down the road, and I walked in there and I said, "Give me everything maple you got." And I got the maple frosted donut, I got the maple cream stuffed donuts, oh
my God,
and it was just like maple. Yep.
So I have to tell you, just because you reminded me, but we went to the Outer Banks in May, my family, for the first time, and they have this place. There's a town called Duck, like quack quack duck.
Oh yeah,
and they have this place called Duck Donuts.
Oh, nice.
And the most amazing, all handmade, and they come out warm, and it's just everything wonderful about life. But my favorite donut they have, it's a maple syrup icing with chopped up bacon on it. Dude,
maple bacon.
It's so good.
Yep.
I'm
a sucker for maple bacon. Anything bacon, really. That's got my name on it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, brother. Good
stuff.
All
right. Another great episode in the bag. Thank you so much for joining this week. Special thank you to all of our Patreons for chiming in on the chat and hanging with us tonight. If you're interested in being a Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/Art of NetEng to sign up. We thank you so much for your support of the art of network engineering. Anything else you want to add to kind of button this one up?
Not necessarily. I'd like to just frame this whole conversation that I'm very grateful that I have a job and was able to keep it during, the crazy economic side effects of COVID. And I never want to, I have a lot of family who has to go out every day on the front line and do stuff. So it's easy for me to sit here and start espousing about how I think things should be, but I don't want to lose, I'm very grateful for our frontline workers and for all the medical folks and people delivering the groceries. And it's, thank you, frontline workers.
Yes.
And, don't let it be, I'll never let it be lost that I am in a privileged position where I get to sit here and work from my desk and I don't have to go out, and get exposed to things that I wouldn't want to. But it's been a good career, man. Network engineering, it's awesome. I love it. It's given me a lot of freedom. I get to meet you guys, and I'm really grateful for my career, and thank you for those folks I have data center folks, right? DC ops folks that I rely on all the time. I have a maintenance tonight in 30 minutes, and I have folks at multiple sites that are going to help me do stuff, and I need them, and they're important, and I'm very grateful. So please don't take my I'm not leaving my seat the wrong way. I really appreciate everybody out there doing the thing. And
I agree. I mean, my wife works at a credit union. She had to show up every single day for work throughout the entire pandemic. My mother works in manufacturing. She has to show up every single day for work to put parts together for airplanes. I know lots of people that work in the healthcare industry. One of our dearest friends is the assistant nurse manager for the intensive care unit here in Burlington at the major hospital. So she exclusively sees the COVID-19 patients. And I have lots of people in my circle that I certainly have a lot of respect for. And like you, I'm very thankful that I get to work from home and will always value that. But as a result, I will always look for opportunities that let me do that because it can.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Andy. This has been fun. I love hanging out with you. And we will do it again soon, I'm sure. So join us next week for another episode of The Art of Network Engineering. Awesome. Hey everyone, this is AJ. If you like what you heard today, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcatcher. Smash that bell icon to get notified of all of our future episodes. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Art of NetEng. That's Art of NetEng. You can also find us on the web at artofnetworkengineering.com, where we post all of our show notes. You can read blog articles from the co-hosts and guests, and also a lot more news and info from the networking world. Thanks for listening.